House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and urge her to take up the impeachment of President Bush and Vice President Cheney. He'll be wearing a sandwich board sign. Deirdre Bryant, ABC News.
This is Radio Common Law, hosted by attorneys Amy F. Cardullo, Kevin Dwyer, and attorneys from Sayre, Regan, Thayer, and Flanagan. Your calls are welcome at 846-1028. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of WADK or its sponsors.
Good morning. This is Mark Thayer of Sayre, Regan, Thayer, and Flanagan. Welcome to Radio Common Law. Sayre, Regan, Thayer, and Flanagan is a full-service law firm with offices at 130 Bellevue Avenue. Our phone number is 849-3040, and we're pleased to host Radio Common Law with our colleagues Amy Cardullo of the Family Law Center and Kevin Dwyer. Before we get into today's program, I have a couple of programming notes. Encourage everybody to attend the St. Augustine's Christmas Bazaar next weekend, and Kevin has asked me to announce that the Newport County Bar Association Christmas Party is next Friday, December 14th at 6 p.m. at the Blues Cafe. I have two very special guests with me today, Dave Galvin and Bob Hole from the Newport Insurance Group, and we're going to discuss a host of issues relating to the insurance industry. I've been practicing real estate law for over 20 years now, and the insurance issues that are facing the real estate industry have come to the forefront probably over the last 5 years. It used to be you could call from the closing table and get an insurance binder faxed over. Now it sometimes takes weeks to get insurance issues resolved prior to a closing. I want to introduce my guest. First is Dave Galvin, who is more famously known as Ann Corcoran Galvin's husband. Ann is a dear friend of mine and one of the top title examiners in the state of Rhode Island. And I want to congratulate Dave and Ann on their daughter Annie's being selected to the Newport County soccer team this past fall. And as I always do, tell them it's not too late for them to relocate to Portsmouth because Annie would look really good in the Lady Patriots red, white, and blue. My second guest is Bob Hole. Bob and I have a long history together, going back over 27 years ago when he and I were both employed on Goat Island as baggage relocation technicians, also known as bellhops. And I'm very pleased to announce that Bob and his siblings, Ned, Larry, and Celine, who is Dan Corrigan's better half, all had the foresight to relocate to Portsmouth, and their kids are running around in Portsmouth red, white, and blue. But good morning, guys.
Mark, good morning. It's great to be here.
Dave, why don't you talk to us about a little bit about your insurance background and how the Newport Insurance Group came to be?
Sure, Mark. And first of all, you won't see my kids in Portsmouth red, white, and blue. And secondly, my wife Ann is making meatballs for the St. Augustine's Fair next weekend, so I would encourage everybody to go down there and try them out. Newport Insurance is just about 2 years old. We started at the beginning of 2006, and we're located in Admiral's Gate Tower down on 3rd Street. And I guess I would describe our agency as a full-service general agency. We sell personal lines, commercial lines, employee benefits, and we've been growing very steadily since we opened. And we have a great team of principals, myself, Bob, Matt Kirby, Kevin Kirby, Alan Corcoran, Rosemary Riley, as well as a great staff. Our staff is now up to 7 people, and we think we've got a great team down there doing good insurance work. And when I say we're a general agency, we do personal insurance, commercial insurance, but we'll also bring in specialists for different things that we need to get done, whether it's long-term care or employee benefits or special commercial situations. So we're really pleased with what we have. And the other important thing, I guess, to know about us is that we're an independent insurance agency, which means we pretty much work for the customer and work with a lot of different insurance companies to get the best coverage at the best price, for the best situation for our customers. So, and you alluded to the marketplace here in Newport, and it has been difficult in the last couple of years for homeowners on Aquidneck Island, and really in southeastern New England to get the kind of coverage that they need at a price that they can afford.
Where can any of the callers reach you after the show? Phone number and website.
619-1660 is our office number, and web address is newportinsuranceagency.com.
Okay. Morning, Bob.
Morning, Mark.
Why don't you give us, as Dave just touched upon, the difference between a mortgage broker as opposed to working for just one particular company?
Yeah, you've got what are called captive agents, for instance, like Nationwide or Allstate. They work specifically for one carrier. Where Newport Insurance is different, we're an independent agent, so we represent a number of different carriers. Where we think that helps us a lot is in this kind of situation today, where we've got a very difficult marketplace for coastal real estate. And what it allows us to do is go to 6 or 7 different carriers that may have different underwriting guidelines. One carrier may be, okay, we'll write a homeowner's policy half a mile to the coast. And another carrier may say, well, we don't want anything within 3 miles of the coast. And as you know, on Aquidneck Island, we're surrounded obviously by water. So it's important for us to have access to different carriers. And that's really the distinction. Not to say that Allstate, Nationwide, those aren't good agencies and good companies. It's just the difference is we have what I believe is more flexibility when it comes to different market conditions.
We invite the callers to call in to Dave and Bob with any questions you might have on the insurance industry today, not just limited to real estate, motor vehicles, boats, or anything like that. So please feel free to call again at 846-1028. Can either of you guys just summarize what has happened, what has caused the, I wouldn't say crisis, but the current state of insurance to be what it is today?
Well, I think, depending on who you are, you probably would describe it as a crisis if your insurance premium doubled or tripled in the last 2 years. And it's a combination of factors that have gone into it. And a lot of it has been driven by what has occurred in other parts of the country, down in Florida, down in the Gulf states. Katrina and the hurricanes that hit in Florida a couple of years ago have really accelerated the cost of, in our industry, reinsurance that insurance companies have to buy to protect themselves against these catastrophic losses. And it's a complicated and kind of complex series of things that have happened that have rippled up to Aquidneck Island, and again, because of that, homeowners up here are seeing those prices and availability go way up. One big reason is the reinsurance, which I just mentioned, and what that is, insurance companies will go out and buy insurance themselves on the risks that they cover. So, for example, if you have a house in Portsmouth, an insurance company covers it, that company will go out and pay premium to a reinsurance company for that. And in the last couple of years, reinsurance costs have doubled and tripled for insurance companies, which causes them to pass that cost along to the consumer. So that's been one big factor. Another factor is concentration of risk. If an insurance company insures a lot of property in a given area, a coastal area, they have to look at that and worry about the exposure that they have if a big storm comes and causes a lot of damage. So a lot of companies who have big concentrations up here, different companies, Quincy Mutual, Merrimack Mutual, lots of companies across the board have looked at that and said, we have to scale back because we just have too much exposure.
With the growing number of companies just dropping customers, what is out there in the marketplace for people to use when they get that notice in the mail stating that they've been dropped by their insurance company?
Yeah, it's not that insurance isn't available. It is available, and again, it depends on the factors or the different types of properties and how close you are to the water and so forth. But for instance, if there's no insurance companies voluntary companies that will write your homeowner's insurance, let's just say because you're too close to the water. In Rhode Island, we have what's called the FAIR Plan. So that's sort of, it used to be the place of last resort. Now the FAIR Plan is becoming, unfortunately, a regular company that we go to place coverage for somebody. And the FAIR Plan is, they have homeowner rates, they have rental property rates, and we place the insurance with the FAIR Plan for those folks that can't get it in the regular marketplace. Beyond that, as I said, there are carriers that will write coastal properties, but they do get their pound of flesh, so to speak. These rates have been going up quite a bit, and so you'll end up, we've seen, rates going 30, 40, 50% up for these properties that, again, I'll put coastal in quotations, because coastal, depending upon the carrier, can be half a mile or 3 or 5 miles. So it really depends on where you're at and what kind of values you have.
I'm going to be back in a few minutes, and we'll talk about some more insurance issues. Please give us a call with your questions at 846-1028.
Happy holidays from Seth and all your friends at Fifth Ward Liquor, who have aisles of holiday ideas. Looking for a fine wine? Jacobs Creek Reserve Shiraz received 90 points in Wine Spectator. The Georges de Boeuf Beaujolais Nouveau is in. For something new, from Hat Trick Cellars comes the Ray Bork Merlot and the Cam Neely Cabernet. For your holiday convenience, Fifth Ward always has chilled wine and champagne ready to go. Fifth Ward has a terrific array of winter beers, the Long Trail Winter Survival 12-pack, Harpoon Winter Warmer, Sam Adams Winter Classic in 12-packs, Sam Adams Utopia, and Blue Moon Winter Ale. Fifth Ward's gift selection includes Kettle One Vodka, Jameson's Irish Whiskey, and Bailey's. Wine gift sets include Bola and Robert Mondavi Private Select. Your holiday spirits await at Fifth Ward Liquor, 695 Lois Thames, offering free gift wrapping and delivery at 847-4545. Fifth Ward Liquor, open Sundays, noon to 6.
The fun starts quicker with Fifth Ward Liquor. You better take the Fifth.
Let's have a little fun during the holiday season. And while we're at it, we'll give away some great gifts. Here on WADK, we want you to name that tinsel tune. From now through December 21st, just listen to Art Berluti weekday mornings from 11 to noon. He'll give you a lyric from a popular Christmas song, and we want you to name that tinsel tune. Get it right and win some fantastic gifts. And every daily winner then qualifies for our grand prize, a 2-night stay with breakfast in a spacious suite at the brand new Residence Inn by Marriott, now open in Middletown. Listen every weekday morning, 11 to noon, for your chance to name that tinsel tune and win. Participating sponsors include IHOP in Middletown, the LaForge Restaurant, your friends along Bowen's Wharf in Newport, Sardella's Italian Restaurant, Baskets of Elegance in Middletown, Salas's Dining Room, People's Credit Union, the Brick Alley Pub and Restaurant, and Edible Arrangements of Warren. Have fun with us and name that tinsel tune.
We're back. Welcome to the Radio Common Law. I'm Mark Thayer of Sayre, Regan, Thayer, and Flanagan, 130 Bellevue Avenue. Our number up there is 849-3040. Co-host of the Radio Common Law, Amy Cardullo of the Family Law Center, and attorney Kevin Dwyer. I'm here today with my good friends Dave Galvin and Bob Hole of the Newport Insurance Group. We're talking about insurance-related issues as in the real estate industry, but we invite your questions at 846-1028 on any insurance questions you might have for either Bob or Dave. Before the break, we were just talking about the insurance crisis facing not only this area but across the country due to the record losses that we've experienced. And before the break, Bob was talking about the several options, and one of the things he touched upon is the issue of owner-occupied versus rental properties. And Bob, if you could just discuss some of the differences and the challenges that people will face, particularly, I guess, if they're rental property owners.
Yeah, as Mark started out the conversation, these policies in the past, before this crisis, were relatively easy to write. We didn't have any problems. They're good risks, good insureds out there, and they were pretty much, to use a basketball reference, a layup for us. Now it's difficult, and it's actually more difficult for the rental properties than it is for the what we call dwelling policies or rental properties. There's more companies out there that are willing to write homeowners, that is, owner-occupied properties. So what happens for the folks that are renting properties, when you have fewer companies that are willing to take a look at those, well, what that does is it creates a shortage, basically, a shortage of companies that will place the coverage. So we do have options for folks, but again, the coastal issues come into play as well on those. The FAIR Plan, again, can write dwellings, 1 and 2 family dwellings, commercial properties. But even before the coastal crisis, habitational in general, rental properties in general, maybe going back 3 or 4 years, sort of became an insurance that a lot of companies weren't all that interested in writing because they were suffering losses on those types of properties. So again, I don't want to give the impression that it's not available, but it's a little bit more difficult with the rental properties than it is with the homeowners.
Well, I think that's the main message, in that insurance is available. You can get insurance for what you need to cover, whether it's an occupied home or a rental property. It's just a matter of at what cost and what the coverage would be. I know we've talked over the last year or so about the cost and availability and what it's done to the real estate market around here, or how it impacts the real estate market. And we get calls from realtors and prospective buyers who are looking at the insurance cost and what it would mean to them. And especially, I think, vacation home buyers or second home buyers who would look at a property and want to assess what the insurance cost would be, especially if they're near the coast, especially if they might need flood insurance, and see, all right, is this something that I want to dive into because it just adds to the cost. So it definitely is, having an impact, we think, in terms of how it affects the real estate market.
I'm here again with Bob Hole and Dave Galvin of Newport Insurance Group. We invite your questions this morning at 846-1028. Dave, just following up on that point, what issues are insurance companies looking at in rental properties? What type of loss is it, like maybe college students trashing houses, or what issues are being looked at that might cause for a higher premium?
Well, from an insurance company's viewpoint, and I guess how they would underwrite a rental property, age of the property is a factor that comes into play, and obviously on Aquidneck Island and in Newport, most of the properties are older, and the lead paint issues have come up. That's a whole other topic that's out there. Rhode Island is at the forefront because of the recent litigation, and I guess the victory for the state of Rhode Island against some of the lead paint companies. So that's an important issue. Fire safety, life safety, the type of fire protection that's in a rental property, and those codes that have changed in the last couple of years, and a lot of properties still have a ways to go to get up to standards that insurance companies will write. And then also the occupants. Are they seasonal? Are they summer rentals? And then college rentals in the off season, because those factors go into what insurance companies look at and what kind of claims will come out of it.
What would insurance companies look at for strictly second homes or vacation homes? What issues differentiate them from rental properties?
Again, a lot of the same underwriting that would go into the primary home, but in this case, a lot of companies that are out there will not want to write that second home unless they write the primary home, because they feel that they've got some control over the overall standards and the care of the home. We frankly disagree with it. We think that they're missing out on a lot of opportunities if they just want to write the second homes here in Newport, because there are a lot of terrific properties around here that are vacation homes and seasonally occupied, and are great risks. But insurance companies are very conservative in their approach in that. And if you get into the higher values, some of the issues that come into play are protection when they're not there. Are there burglar alarms? Are there fire alarms? is the heat on in the wintertime? Or is the water drained? What types of caretaking is going on? So, for the second homes, there are issues that come into play that are different than the primary home.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, Mark, like as Dave mentioned about the protections when you're not there, a lot of the companies that we work with, they require for the second homes that they have a central station fire and burglar alarm system, and also that system ties into the heat, so that they know that system can tell when that heat goes off, and that can go to the central station, and they can get out there to the caretaker or whoever it might be and get that heat turned back on so that we don't have any frozen pipes. And that's a big condition that we're seeing. And like Dave said, they want the insurance companies, if they're willing to write the secondary home, they want that primary home. And we see a lot of that down here in Newport, where folks will have a second home. And, I'll give you one example. We've got, a home on Aquidneck Island that we write, and then we write a home their primary home, that's out in Arizona. I mean, that's just kind of the way that these companies want to do it. They say you gotta have both in order to write it, and we get a lot of situations where it's Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, where we end up having to write the primary home as well as the secondary that's located down here.
And last year, the Rhode Island Association of Realtors revised their standard purchase and sale agreement and added a paragraph that states to prospective buyers that they need to determine as soon as possible whether they can get satisfactory insurance. So it seems like the insurance industry has joined the real estate industry in that it's location, location, location. I know there are many of my real estate friends, realtors out there listening today, and it seems like now this has to be moved from the back burner to the front burner to determine whether you can get insurance on the property that you may be looking at. So as they're starting to maybe take their clients to look at properties from an insurance angle, what should they be looking at?
Well, you mentioned location. I guess that's the first thing. When somebody calls us with an address, if we don't, even if we do know where it is, we'll still, go to Google Earth and get a direct read as to what the distance is to the coast, because that's what the primary insurance underwriting criteria is, or seems to be these days. And be proactive. Get ahead of it. I guess get some information out there and see what's out there in the marketplace for this particular home, where it's located, and see what is available. And talk to different agents or different companies and see what is out there. I think it's a given that on Aquidneck Island that the marketplace is going to be tough. It's going to be thin, but there is availability. I think you can get coverage.
Yeah, Mark, just one of the other factors that we haven't really touched upon, but it's with auto insurance as well as with homeowners insurance, is the insurance carriers these days underwrite by credit scoring as well. So if you have good credit, generally speaking, you're going to get their preferred rates. Again, if it's not, you got to take into the coastal issues as well. But on the credit scoring, we don't see any individual's credit. Or all the companies do is when we put the information in, they feed back to us what rating tier that person can qualify for. But that is another factor that goes into the underwriting.
Is homeowners insurance the same as car insurance in that maybe if you've had, if you've had speeding tickets or other moving violations, what if you've had several claims on your property for whatever reason?
That can create a situation where the company will set you up for cancellation. And we've seen it, and I think it's, for an insurance company, it might tend to be more frequency than if you have one sizable claim. They're looking at risks where they want to see a pattern of, good maintenance and care of the property, those kinds of things. However, companies will cancel policies if there have been some claims.
Yeah, we had a situation actually, and this is a little unusual, but I guess it's what companies do. It wasn't so much claims from the folks that were buying the property. It was that the property actually had claims on it by the address. And so what we had to do was that this particular property had a couple of claims on it. In particular, I think it was on the roof. What we had to do was demonstrate to the insurance company that that situation was rectified. And it was. It was, the roof had been repaired and it was done. And they were comfortable with that. But they actually can get data on that particular house if it had claims before. So, yeah, claims can impact availability for insurance.
Okay. I'm going to follow up a question on that, Bob, when we get back from the break. We'll see you in a few minutes.
There are times when the service you receive from some businesses isn't quite what you'd like. And when it's something as vital as delivery of your home heating oil, expecting better service isn't exactly unreasonable. After all, we're talking about your comfort in the cold of winter, your peace of mind. That's where Anchor Fuel comes in. If you want a good price for your home heating oil, if you appreciate responsive and cordial service, then join the growing list of very satisfied customers who rely on the Anchor Fuel team of Middletown. Start with a call to 619-2222. Say hello to Roberta Fagan, Anchor's office manager, or Patty Dillon, their customer relations representative. Here's Roberta.
I understand when people call us, they're not just looking for home heating oil. They want to know it will be there when it's needed, and most of all, that the company they're dealing with generally cares about their well-being. And that's what we're all about.
Anchor Fuel, the kind of service you deserve. Phone 619-2222. Sundays have changed on WADK.
Just trying to have a little fun, folks, that's all.
Still great classic music, and now with a new edition. Sunday mornings at 8, Johnny Nardo's That's Amore. 2 hours of standards and romance with an Italian flair. Johnny Nardo's That's Amore. And from 10 to noon, it's our Newport County Jazz tradition, Sunday Swing Time with Bob Anthony. Jazz trios and quartets, big bands, the best jazz vocalists, past and present. It's Sunday Swing Time, now from 10 to noon.
The stars out tonight.
Followed by Frank and Friends, now in its new time of noon to 2. Jim Raposa hosts this weekly tribute to Frank Sinatra, the chairman of the board, his friends, and all that memorable music. It's our new Sunday lineup. Johnny Nardo's That's Amore at 8, Sunday Swing Time at 10, Frank and Friends at noon. On AM 1540, WADK.
Good morning, this is Mark Thayer of Sayer, Regan, Thayer & Flanagan. Welcome once again to Radio Common Law, which our firm co-hosts with Amy Cardulo of Family Law Center and attorney Kevin Dwyer. The number here is 846-1028. My guests today, Dave Galvin and Bob Hole of the Newport Insurance Group. And Dave, could you just give us your contact information once again?
We're located at Admirals Gate Tower, 221 3rd Street, and our phone number is 619-1660, and on the web at newportinsuranceagency.com.
Just before the break and then during the break, I was talking with Bob and Dave about how properties can be rated, and that even though the individual owner may not have had any claims, prior owners may have had some claims, which could affect the underwriting concerns on the property. And if we could just go back to that point, because that was very eye-opening to me, because in my field as a real estate attorney, insurance is one of the last concerns that people think about, when clearly from our discussion today, it's got to be right up there with the home inspections and the appraisal. So if we could go back and touch upon that, just what we were talking about. We're going to take a phone call right now. Go ahead. Good morning.
Morning, Mark.
Yes.
Look, would you ask your two guests if they would comment on, this involves Florida, if they would comment on the manufactured home /line trailer on land owned by the individual, because being in Florida, where the majority of people down there have been forced into purchasing insurance for homeowners from a state-run agency. Kind of curious, because most of the insurance companies now have fled the state. I'm wondering if there's any chance of coming back. You're doing a good job, and thank you very much. I'll hang up and listen to your response.
Well, I guess it sounds like a two-part question. One about Florida, and one maybe about these manufactured homes. The manufactured homes, there are specialty companies that do write those, and I think the market is readily available up here, and again, probably with the same underwriting criteria and guidelines that companies use for the rest of the coastal property exposure. So they are available. And in Florida, what the caller stated was, I think, pretty accurate. The majority of risk are now written by a state-run insurance company down there. I think it's called Citizens. And, it does bring up a point, Mark, where, we have what we describe as a crisis up here in terms of pricing increases and availability, but it really pales in comparison to what's been going on down in Florida, and also to some degree what has happened out on the Cape too.
Again, invite your questions at 846-1028. Just prior to the call, we were talking about properties being rated, and Dave, if you could touch upon so let's say a prospective buyer or a real estate agent who was going to take a listing, if they had a question on a particular property, you had mentioned the CLUE program. Could you discuss that?
The CLUE is an acronym, and I forget exactly what it stands for. I think it's Comprehensive Loss Underwriting Exchange. I could be wrong about that, but it's basically a database that insurance companies have compiled and subscribed to, which compiles loss information on properties. So if an insurance company has paid out a loss on a particular property, it would go into this database that all companies can access and gain underwriting information on. And I think it also applies to individual policyholders as well. So if Mark Thayer at his house in Portsmouth has had a loss, that would be in, and that has been paid, a paid loss by an insurance company, that would be in that database that an insurance company can look at. And Mark submitted an application, it went in, and there was 2 or 3 losses for $4,000 or $5,000. That insurance company might come back and say, well, Mark, thanks for the application, but no thanks.
Interesting point, because I don't believe on the statutory seller disclosure statement, while a seller is obligated to disclose deficient conditions on the property, I don't think insurance history is listed on there. Maybe that's be a cause for concern going forward for the insurance and the real estate professionals here in the state of Rhode Island.
Well, one thing to remember, Bob described the FAIR Plan in Rhode Island, which are the state-sponsored property and casualty insurance programs. Many other states have them. They don't do this type of underwriting. It's really take all comers approach for that. And also in some of the other what we call non-standard markets, whether it's a Lloyd's of London or other companies, their underwriting is less stringent. What we're describing is really for the mainstream standard companies, whether it's let's say an Allstate or a Merrimack Mutual or a Travelers or one of those companies.
One of the things we haven't touched upon, although we've in general referred to the high cost of insurance, is deductibles and the options that are available to homeowners in that area.
Yeah, I'll talk about that. And this is, again, I hate to jump on the coastal issue, but this deductibles is one that has come up. I would advise folks to take a look at their policies to see what exactly their deductibles are, because now, as opposed to years past, they actually probably, in all likelihood, have 2 deductibles. They'll have one for a hurricane or what's called a named storm, and that generally is a percentage, either 1% or 2% of their dwelling limit on the policy. So, for instance, if they had a $400,000 replacement cost on their house and they had a 2% named stormed hurricane deductible, then if we have a hurricane that comes through, they're going to be paying the first $8,000 of that claim. Then they'll have a standard deductible for all the other perils that the policy covers, and that could be $250, $500, $1,000, or $2,500. My advice has been lately for folks to take as high a deductible that they can in order to reduce their premiums, because the premiums have been going up, as we mentioned before, and if you can handle $1,000 deductible in the event of a claim, I would suggest you do that. because you can save on the cost of your premium.
Again, invite your questions at 846-1028. This is Mark Thayer with Bob Hole and Dave Galvin talking about a wide range of insurance issues. If one of you guys could talk to, I don't live in a flood zone, but I have flood insurance, and I obtained that after I had had a flood in my basement about 5 years ago, which I think was like a 500-year storm. What are the differences between being in a flood zone and then getting flood insurance if you're not in a flood zone, and what exactly is covered under that?
Well, all of Aquidneck Island is eligible to buy flood insurance. There are flood zones that are high hazard, and then I guess ones that you would describe as maybe just regular hazard or lower hazard zones. And the zones that banks or lenders would require you to have insurance would be V zones or high velocity zones, AX zones, and those have more risk and more chance to have floods based on the flood maps. Now, on Aquidneck Island, and again, if you have a lender, they're going to require that you have flood insurance, and flood insurance is there to provide coverage in the event of rising water, wave action, general flooding conditions. All right, because your homeowner's policy is going to exclude it, and there's been a lot written in the papers, and there's still litigation going on down in the Gulf states, primarily Mississippi, because many homeowners, even though they were in flood zones down there, did not have flood insurance, and insurance companies who wrote the homeowners did not want to, and really, shouldn't have been obligated to pay any of those claims. It's depending on the risk, and I guess depending on the individual, their choice to buy flood insurance if they're not in one of those higher velocity zones or higher risk zones. And I think the flood insurance program would love for more consumers to buy it, because that would make the program more solvent. But again, I think from what the indications are, many people don't have flood insurance when they should.
It seems like people maybe should be conducting their own insurance audit, at least at their level. You guys are the professionals. They can contact you to go through their insurance coverage. But if they were going to, based on just maybe listening today, to pull out their policies and review it, what should they be looking for, and what red flags should they be jumping out at them?
Well, I guess the first thing that you're going to look at is, okay, how much coverage do I have on my actual house, on the structure? And I think, as you know, Mark, and all the real estate folks out there know, and most people, consumers know as well, the cost of construction, in particular in this area, has gone way up. What used to cost, $50 or $75 a square foot to build back a house, now we're talking, when we talk to contractors, it can range anywhere between $150 and $350 to build back a house, depending upon the type of structure it is. So I think the first thing that you want to do, most folks will know what their square footage is take a look at their limit of insurance and, find out, hey, geez, am I insured properly? Do I have enough coverage on my house? And if they're not comfortable with it, or they're unsure about that, they can call us, they can call their insurance agent, and we have replacement cost programs, software that we can plug in the information, and that will tell us how much it's going to cost, fairly closely, how much it's going to cost to rebuild your home. I think really that's the first place they want to look. And then beyond the property coverage, certainly liability is the other section that they want to look at. They want to make sure that they have enough liability so that if somebody gets hurt on their property, that they've got protection for a third party coming after them.
Yeah, and the issue of deductibles, I think it all goes into play where individuals really have to look at their insurance program and decide what their approach is going to be. We're consumers too, and I kind of take the approach which is, all right, I think I'd like to make sure I'm covered for the catastrophe, the worst thing that can happen, and then what kind of deductibles can I take or can I afford to take care of the small stuff, but know that I'm protected for the higher end, and that could apply to, the deductibles on your car insurance, deductibles on your home, your health insurance. Not unusual for a family with a couple of cars, throwing a teenage driver and a house to be paying $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a year in home and auto insurance. So, I think from a risk management review, you want to protect yourself for that, high-end, catastrophic, or kind of unusual loss, and be able to absorb the smaller things that can occur, just to keep the cost in line.
What are some of the things homeowners can do to minimize the insurance costs? Like one of the things we've talked about off air are these hurricane shutters. And is there anything else that they can do?
Well, the hurricane shutters, and under the Rhode Island regs, is there's our friend Bob Angel out there.
He's trying to kick us out, Dave.
If you put approved hurricane shutters on your home, insurance companies that are filed and approved in Rhode Island have to offer you insurance. So that is one way to both increase the availability and lower your costs. Now, can be a very expensive proposition, and we've had people ask us about it, but it's been kind of unrealistic for folks to do it at this point.
Okay, we've got another call. Good morning. What's your question?
I want to know if you have undeveloped land. Let me turn on the radio. If you have undeveloped land and you're going to hire an individual that's not a contractor with a corporation insurance, how do you protect yourself?
Well, if you're building, it depends on what you're doing with the land.
I'm sorry. No, I was on the air. I thought I was being screened. Go ahead.
You are on the air.
So, like, if I just hire somebody that's like a local, not here on this island, but say another island, and they're local and they know what they're doing and they can plug stuff in, but they don't have any formal protection, and it's my property and it's they're clearing trees or whatever. It's something that wouldn't require like paving a road or something where you'd have the government involved in permits and stuff. Just regular old landscaping, for lack of a better word.
Well, if this is property that you own and you have insurance on other property, if you have insurance, let's say a homeowner's policy, that would extend to that vacant land that you own. And if you're having work done on that land and something happened, you would be protected.
What if I didn't have any kind of homeowner's insurance? What would I get for the vacant land insurance?
Liability?
You would just just a regular general liability policy that you would take out in your name as the owner of the property.
Would that be prudent for just having somebody walk around and chopping off a few branches and grass? I mean, I'm a fairly conservative person, but I'm also cost sensitive.
Well, I think if that land is an asset and it has value and you want to protect it, and Mark, as an attorney, could comment on this. Any situation could arise where someone could be walking on the land, or if you're having work done and there's an issue that could result in a liability situation. So
there is such a thing as a general liability policy for vacant land?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you could get a vacant land policy, and like Dave said, the thing that you or your comment was, would it be prudent? I think it would be prudent to get coverage on that because, if you have vacant land, there's such a thing as called an attractive nuisance, and that's for younger folks, kids. If they get on there.
Oh yeah, they've already partied and put up tents and slept in there, and I'm like, where am I going to find the next? Well, I don't want to say it on the air, but bad word, but, a thing that guys put on to protect themselves.
Yeah, I would
I was
also,
like, where am I going to find this around here?
I'm not a lawyer, but I would also suggest, just from an underwriting standpoint, from insurance, I would suggest you put some signs out there and, tell...
What kind of signs?
Well, just, this is
private. Isn't that just like kind of like do not drive here? When I drive around the island, this island, and I'll see a sign that says, don't drive down here. And of course, I don't drive down there, but it's all the more reason for me to say, I wonder what's down here that I had to put a sign up. Otherwise, I would have just kept going around and thinking it was a house in the neighborhood. Little did I know that if you kept walking down there, you'd go through the woods and across a train track, and you'd see some water. That sign is what attracted me. park.
I think what Bob was talking about, the attractive nuisance legal concept, is you just want to do everything possible to maybe put up private property, no trespassing signs.
Oh, does that cover me, though, if I had liability insurance? Does that help the insurance underwriters?
It does. I think an underwriter would want to know where the property is, how big it is, and what protections, if any, are out there.
And so what we're thinking now would be a good idea but let's say you have something that's not noticeable, and it's just everybody would just normally just go by, and all of a sudden you have private property, no trespassing. I guess I put it in a place where maybe closer down to where somebody would actually have to physically be walking around to do. But that would help. Would that help my case if somebody did injure themselves, that I had a sign up that said, "Hey, you're not supposed to be here in the first place"?
Well, it's really more a case of you're acting prudent in trying to keep people off your property, and I think that's what you're demonstrating that by, putting that type of signage up, and you're also acting prudent by buying insurance to protect your interests.
How do you think? How much does something like that run? Do you have any clue?
We really don't at this point. We'd be happy to talk to you off air.
Okay, yep. All right, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the call. We're going to take one last break.
Hi, I'm Megan from Barry's GM Auto Mall in Middletown, Rhode Island. Every day I meet people, hardworking, honest people who have had trouble with their credit. Life throws us all a curveball sometimes. At Barry's, we believe that everyone deserves the chance to drive an automobile. With our 100% guaranteed approval, you can take delivery of your new or used